Federation gives the greatest gift of all. It gives the gift of connection to the Jewish community. I'm going to tell you about a time where I felt disconnected. I was born in 1990 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And a few years after that, my parents decided to pick up and move us to Miami, where my dad started to work right here at the MAR JCC that we're standing in today. And fun fact, I guess big speeches happen in this room because I had my bat mitzvah right here. So I grew up in the perfect Jewish community, I thought. I loved my days dancing at Israeli dance here at the JCC, which I found is not very common in other communities. I loved my friends at Hebrew Academy. I loved my first trip to Israel with my youth group. And it was something that I thought every Jewish kid would love to grow up the way that I loved. Fast forward, I started school, university, at the Florida International University, and after a few years, I was brave enough to move, and I said, I'm going to Orlando. I chose that school. I chose University of Central Florida. And I chose that school because I said, it has a great Jewish community, it's far enough away from my parents, and close enough that I can come home whenever I want. So I had a very similar experience, like my childhood, very immersed in the Jewish community on campus. I never missed a Shabbat dinner. I was on the board of Chabad. I had most of my friends that were Jewish, and that was enough for me. The problem started after I graduated. I decided to stay in Orlando because at the time I thought it was the right move for my career. I was a restaurant manager and the corporate office was based in Orlando, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna grow into the corporate office, it's gonna be great. And 2 years into this career dream, I realized that I had lost a lot of things that I didn't have when I was in college, when I was growing up, and most noticeable to me was I couldn't remember the last time I had gone to a Shabbat dinner. And I panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm losing everything. I don't have anything. I don't know what I have. And it wasn't just what I thought about at the time. I said, if I continue this career and I want to work out of this corporate office, I have to raise my family in Orlando. And I know it sounds like I'm not complaining about Orlando. It's a wonderful city, but it wasn't the Jewish community that I wanted for my children. I couldn't imagine raising my family there. So has anyone ever done something like kind of out of the box to really feel inspired? Anyone? So my feeling of inspiration was, you know what? I'm going to Israel. It's going to be great. I'm going to feel Jewish again. Like, I'm going to be happy to be Jewish again. That was my thought process. So I decided to staff a birthright trip. Birthright is a 10-day trip for young adults, young Jewish adults, to experience Israel for free. And I said, okay, I'm going to staff this trip. It's going to be great. And I picked up and I left 10 days. I took my vacation days to go staff this trip. Now I get to do it for work. It's great. But before, I didn't get to do that. So I took my 10 vacation days. I came back and my boss was like, why are you so tired? I'm like, I haven't slept in the last 10 days, but that's a whole other story. And I said, it's a free flight to Israel. What's going to go wrong? And I got so much more than I bargained for. We landed in Israel on a Thursday. And Friday, of course, is the first Shabbat that I experienced in a very long time, with 40 strangers around me. And at that moment, lighting the Shabbat candles with some people who did it all the time and people that had never done it before, that was my moment that I realized I need to make a change. Something's not right. So I get back from the trip and I walk into the restaurant and I walk into the office and I say to my boss, I have no idea what I'm gonna do, but I know it needs to be something in the Jewish community, so I'm leaving. And he had no idea what I meant, but he understood. He understood that I needed to find my happiness. So after a year of looking for a perfect job, I found the job of my dreams. I've been working with the Federation for 2 years, and recently I had this moment where I thought back to the time in Orlando. I had 3 Shabbat dinners to choose from in one night. And I said, how lucky am I that I get to choose which Shabbat I get to go to? That is such a privilege. I never had a Shabbat dinner to choose to go to in Orlando. And I think to myself, where would I be if it wasn't for the Federation? And it takes all of us to make these things come true for other people. So please continue to support the Federation so that we can continue to thrive and create stories like mine. Thank you.